Wow. Today is December 16th, 2025. This is Michael Adkins, along with my wife Susan, who's here with me. We were just sitting and thinking back over the last 1 year. And I'll tell you, my friends, today, our viewers, those of you under the sound of our voice, what a difference 1 year can make. There's so many things that can happen in 1 year. When we look back 1 year ago today, Susan and I were in South Africa celebrating Christmas in Cape Town. Imagine. And from South Africa, we went to Botswana and spent some time there in Gaborone and preached the gospel there, preached the gospel in South Africa. Also enjoyed some vacation time, had a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Susan and I, there in South Africa, we went to Old McDaddy in Grabo, which is about 45 minutes from Cape Town. And we enjoyed some activities there. We had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Christmas dinner together. Imagine 1 year ago, we were in South Africa. As I said, then we went to Botswana, enjoyed some time there in Gaborone, and come back home to Kenya. And you know what happened next? As many of you may know, I live in the United States, and Susan's from Kenya. So I work in the United States, and I come and spend a few months at a time with my wife, Susan, while we're waiting on her visa. So the time approached in April 2025. It was time for me to go home to the United States, back to my job. And, of course, so I could support my wife and pay our bills and all those kind of things and all the ministry responsibilities we have. So on April 2nd, as we usually do periodically, we decided to do an at-home pregnancy test. And of course, like many of you out there under the sound of my voice, we were praying for God to give us a beautiful child, baby of our own. And we didn't care if it was a boy or a girl. But every time we done the pregnancy test, it was negative. And I suppose we had done one maybe, 8 or 10 times since we've been married since August 2023. They were always negative. So we tried not to get discouraged. We put our faith in God. We prayed, we sought God, and we trusted God that one day He would bless us. So on April 2nd, 2025, after we returned from South Africa and Botswana, and just before I was leaving to go back home to America, we decided to do another pregnancy test. So we did the pregnancy test that evening, and a strange thing happened. When we looked at the test strip, it did not show negative nor positive. So I told Susan, this is strange and unusual. Maybe we ought to try it again. So we did. And I said, let me see it. So we waited a few minutes, and I looked at the pregnancy strip. And then I told my wife, Susan, your life will never be the same again. And I showed her the pregnancy test strip. Positive. Hallelujah. Imagine, married since August 2023, and the test results are always negative, but then suddenly and finally positive. So it was time. On around April 6th, I had to go back to the United States. so sad. I cried. Susan and I both cried at the airport. It's time for me to go back to work in America. Just found out my wife is pregnant, and I didn't want to leave her. She's never been pregnant before. Neither one of us have ever had children before, but we have responsibilities and we have to earn a living, so I had to go. Of course, Susan and I keep in daily 24-hour contact, even when I'm in America. So I knew everything that was going on. I believe it was on May 5th. She was having a lot of morning sickness and different things. So she went to the clinic and got her sonogram, as we say in America, or ultrasound, as you say in Kenya and Africa, I guess. And sure enough, it also showed she was pregnant. And so there we were. A positive at-home pregnancy test before I leave for America. And then a few weeks afterwards, she takes the ultrasound, the sonogram, and it's also positive. So I'm in America working on the phone and on video with Susan, thousands of miles apart. And my wife is in Kenya, with me on the phone, with me on the video, but alone and separated physically. So sad and so difficult, I'll tell you. But it so happened that I was able again to take off work and come in August. And we enjoyed more wonderful time together. We spent time together and enjoyed time together in August and September 2025. But along the way, some unexpected things happened. For example, around about, I believe, July 2025, right before I came back, Susan had another ultrasound sonogram done, and it showed that there was something unusual and problematic about the pregnancy, which we'll tell you about as the video goes on. So please keep listening. So I came back in August and we spent time together. And of course, in September, I had to go back to work again. Now, my plan was to go back and work a few months and make sure that I was back at least a few weeks before the expected date of delivery. So I planned to come back again another time to Kenya the first week of November, which I did. And I arrived back in Kenya this last time. In fact, I'm here right now. I arrived on, I believe, November 8th, the plane landed. And the expected date of delivery kept fluctuating between November 28th, December 1st, December 8th, with each visit to the doctor, to the clinic, and with each ultrasound. So we wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen. But of course, on December 6th, my wife was having some Braxton Hicks contractions and some pains that she hadn't had before. So we were kind of getting concerned, and we called the doctor, and he advised us to just keep him informed how she was feeling, and if it got to the point where the contractions were more frequent and close together, then to take her to the hospital. So on December 7th, we had to go to the hospital because of the pain and the contractions. And sure enough, they told her that she was going into labor and that she would have to be admitted to the hospital. They're at Nairobi West Hospital. This is on Saturday evening, December the 7th, just like the Lord had said. And so there we were at the hospital, my wife and I, her brother, and her niece, Susan's brother, James, and her niece, Blessing. We're at the hospital. She's being admitted. And Susan is told that she's going to have a C-section, a cesarean, because of the position of the baby. If you remember earlier in the video, I told you that when she went to the doctor in July, there was something problematic and unexpected, unusual about the pregnancy, and that was that the baby was in a breech position. If you don't know, that means the baby's head is not head down for a vaginal delivery. At some points, the baby's head was up, the feet was down. At other points, the baby was transverse, which means it was laying across instead of with its head down. At other points, it seemed to keep moving, but never did the head go down into the position where it needed to be. So here we are on December 7th. She's being admitted to the hospital, and the baby is still in a breech position, and she's taken to a private room in the maternity ward, on the maternity floor. They're on the 5th floor, Nairobi West. And I stayed with her, along with her brother James and her niece Blessing. And we stayed that night, Sunday, December 7th. And the next morning, December the 8th, our doctor, Dr. Thule, comes. We had spoke to him through the night and the previous evening, and the hospital, the doctors had also spoken to him, and he had informed us in the hospital that he would do the emergency C-section to deliver our baby Monday morning, December the 8th at 7 a.m. So at 8:10 a.m. on December the 8th, 2025, Susan was in the theater, Nairobi West Hospital, the 5th floor, with Dr. Thule, who done a wonderful job with all of his assistants and helpers, those that was in the theater with him. And I waited in the room with Susan's thinking back on the last 1 year. How amazing, how wonderful, how unexpected, how awesome things turned out to be. We went from not having a child to becoming parents. From not knowing what was going to happen about Susan's visa to the United States, which we had applied for in March of 2024. But then in the process of all this, in May of 2025, then again in July 2025, we found out that the majority of the documents needed to get her visa were approved. And wow, within 1 year, progress on the visa, a new baby. We also managed to pay off our the first vehicle that we've owned together. It's amazing. Don't let anyone ever tell you that it's impossible. I tell Susan all the time, never give up. Susan says that I'm persistent. But if we give up, if you give up, there's no hope. If we would have gave up trying to get a baby, we would never have one today. If we would have given up trying to pay off our vehicle, we would still not own it today. If we would have given up and thought it was useless to try to get her visa, we wouldn't be as far as we are today, where she's almost ready to get on the plane and go. Hallelujah to God, Yahweh Jehovah,